Hey, beautiful souls. It's Bo here. You can see the DJ's head's bobbing at the same pace as mine. Alright, we'll probably get a copyright on that now. We'll probably get copyright on that now. So, the last two podcasts have had little copyright things. So, I guess you have to not play any music or play your own music. But it is nice to have a little bit of noise in the background. But as I found out, that the audio quality definitely deteriorates on the voice. Yeah, I've just been sitting here meditating, and I had so many downloads of things I wanted to talk about on the podcast. Yeah, queens and kings. It's a fascinating topic because, especially now with King Charles being inaugurated, I feel that like spark a lot of people's interests in kings and queens again. It's like, what are we doing this for? And I had no idea. I was oblivious. I never really knew why there was even a queen, right? Yeah, I just felt that they just come along with the government. But when you start to look back in history, and you see the amazing like the stories of the kings and queens, and like just English history over the last 1,000 years has been like fascinating, crazy, so crazy at times. But there were reigns of good rulers who like steered England in the right direction. You know, they come along, the good ones, and then you get a bad one, or just the pressures of everything going on in the world makes it pretty hard to be the best leader at those times, or who knows. But yeah, there was some amazing kings and queens. I've only just started watching some of the TV series. I'm keen to watch the one with Kate Blanchett about Queen Elizabeth. I haven't seen that yet, but yeah, really rocking it into the kings and queens of the past. Because what seems to have been like this system that went for thousands of years, it was like, that was pretty much, and I understand why. It's because from the first village, or from the first like nomadic tribe, you would have had to have someone in charge, and that person in charge would have been the one most capable to do it, right? Yeah, but then you get all different types of leaders. Yeah, so but yeah, it starts from there. It's just this top-down sort of approach that seems to work, and that's the natural flow of the order of things. We just naturally form into those groups. But that's another thing about the kings and queens. I think it's important to see is that it wasn't just them guys. That they had like a whole like a bunch of elders around them. They had like the wise group of people who were, top of their game. There was like a group of them below the king, and so that a lot of things went through them. Like the way I see like the role of a king is just like a final decision, but the right king would utilize all these wise people that he has around him, and the more wise and the more enlightened they are, the better. Yeah, and he just had to make a final decision, but I'm sure the decision was already made just by listening to what people had to say. But yeah, he's just the final decider, because you need to have that, otherwise nothing will get decided. And I think you see that in communities and all sorts of organizations, that when there's difficult decisions to be made, they don't get made. But then it all comes back to you got to have the right person who's going to make the right decisions, and that is something that is for reason not talked about in our history, even our modern history. Like, let's talk about our leaders and their qualities that made them good leaders, and how many can we class as good leaders? It's very hard to know, really, because you're not in with them. You only hear, it's always sound bites of your leaders. You don't get to know who they are. And that should change as well, because you've got to get to know who they are. You've got to get to know what their heart is. And then you can start to know your leader. All right, I'm going to put some music on. We'll risk the copyright ban. I wonder what the time limit is for you to get copyrighted on a soundtrack. Maybe you can play it for like 10 seconds and it's okay. Or maybe you can't play it at all. Be interesting to know. Hello, Mango. How are you? You want to come over here? I just started wearing a kilt. I've had it for a while, but I feel that there's something freeing about kilt. And yeah, I think there was a reason why that everyone in the past wore kilts, or like you see the Romans, they sort of wore a kilt as well. Like everyone seems to have worn kilts, and I think it's just you feel more like a man, believe it or not. How ironic that wearing a kilt feels more manly, but there's definitely something about having your balls hanging free. And I do know that the 5 minutes sunlight on your balls every day, like they said, like 200% increase in testosterone production in your body. And it's like, yeah, really? Is that, how can that have reports on it? Yeah, so I'm keen, get my balls in the sun anytime. And so when you got a kilt on, you can do that. You can just squat for 5 minutes in the sun, have a break, and yeah, then you get your manliness back, get your testosterone production up. So it's like, yeah, we should all be wearing kilts, and there's something definitely more free, more, there's more power in it, and obviously that you're getting more testosterone production, some more lights getting to your balls, even if it's bouncing off the sidewalk. Yeah, the whole, I'm fascinated with the tartans of Scotland, and there's a whole story behind every tartan and the clan's colours. Yeah, I think that the tartans go back all the way to the Celts, to like the Scythians. Like the Scythians come from the Black Sea region, I think like 3000 BC, but they basically came in and took all over Europe. And so this tartans, I believe, are like a remnant from the Scythians that came in and became the Celts, the Germanics, and pretty much everyone in Europe. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of unknown history that I can't wait to learn more about. And yeah, we're living in this time where information is so much more easily available, and more information is coming. Like there must be so many people so interested in being archaeologists now, just from all the TV shows. It's like, I want to get there. I want to get down into Syria and dig up on some Babylonian ziggurats. Like, hell yeah. And that's the thing because I don't think we really know much about our ancient forebears at all. Yeah, I bet you there's way more information out there than we know. And I think you get so much of the information from the burial sites. Like, that was smart enough to leave traces of this society and civilization in the tombs. Like, how else do you, like, if these guys are wise people, which I believe they were, like, they would know that their future will, their civilization will end at some point, and if they know time and how long it extends for thousands and years, like, you want to leave some remnants of your civilization, like the best bits, to show the future what you did. Like, that to me is more valid. Like, it's a time capsule of the time. Like, that, if for an advanced society, like, that's the way you would think. It's like, yeah, let's lock in some of our coolness, some of the cool things we've created, and then someone from the future, because that past is going to be very hard to hang on to. And you can see that in, like, the Babylonians, the Sumerians. There's so many civilizations that have just, like, been wiped. Like, what about Angkor Wat? We know so little about the people who built that. like, wow, like what sort of civilization builds that? Like it's this magnificent temple city, and it's all laid out perfectly. Like someone designed it, and they built it. But it's withstood the test of time. Like it was left alone. You know, like in Europe, everything gets built on or destroyed. Yeah, where there's this temple in Angkor Wat. I know they say 1600s, but still, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, but yeah, we don't. How do you keep your civilization? How do you show the future? And that's what I think the pyramids are. Like this was a very advanced civilization at some point that built those pyramids as like time capsules for us. And because to break them down is like a insurmountable job. Like you have to, you can't do it. And so they cracked off the outer shell, which they say was like this white marble on the Giza pyramids. But yeah, at one point that's the historical text. Like there's information there, and it's also showing the greatness of the civilization that went before. Like they were great, and I don't think they were built with slaves. They were built with willing people because they were happy being there. Like, it's such a fundamental change for a lot of people to think that the people in the past were living in a society that was in harmony. So then these people, they knew about this harmony that existed when you have the right society and structure and leaders and so they knew. And so that's why they would they had ways to select the leaders that was different to the way we select leaders now. And that's what I believe, like the Egyptian Book of the Dead is not about the dead, it's about weighing the heart of the queen and the king that you're about to put on the throne. Because that's the most important thing. Like, I don't believe the Egyptians were that much about the death. It's funny, I heard a TikTok video this morning and they said, I think all the Egyptians ever did was think about dying. And this is the thing, I believe they were the complete opposite. They didn't care about death. They lived life. They were about living life and living in harmony and to live like a beautiful civilization. Yeah, so they had ways to select those rulers. And I believe how the bloodline works is that if you have rulers that are the type of rulers that are good-hearted and good at what they do, like good, that's their bread, they've been born to be that, like they are priest king, warrior kings, right? You have those people in charge, reigning. I like the word reigning. So they've shown their quality, so that's why there was a bloodline. And you know about the Y chromosome for men. With the Y chromosome, it passes to the father to son. It doesn't pass to the daughters, the Y. So, but it doesn't change. It stays the same Y chromosome. And then this is how they identify like global, what do you call it? Just movements of people moving throughout all the world. Is this Y chromosome signature. So yeah, you can have your 100, if this is why they say when the line is broken, if you've had 100 generations and every generation has a boy, you will have the same Y chromosome as your grandfather's, like 100th generation. You got the same Y chromosome. Yeah. And there's probably more genetics that you hold, like, because it's the male, it doesn't get mixed. And that is why we hold on to our surnames, right? The men hold the male line surname, and it's because, so now I can follow, like, my Y chromosome. If I can follow back to that man 100 generations ago is my direct relative, because I have the same Y chromosome as him. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. And then I believe you do get, maybe, like, who knows, hey Mango, who knows how much genetic memory is stored in that genetics, in that Y chromosome. Like, maybe there's characteristics, there's memories, life learnings. So there's character traits that you're inheriting through each generation. And I know that's actually a fact. Epigenetics, I think they call it. So yeah, but how much is it through that Y? Anyway, that's I believe why they wanted to follow a bloodline of good rulers. Yeah. And that's exactly how all these civilizations have operated. And an interesting one was I read about the dynasties in China, where they had a dynasty that had like over 50 kings or something. Like, don't quote me on the number, but a line that had been very successful and done great things for China. But then towards the end, their leaders started to go bad and corrupt. And so another bloodline of rulers from a different little area, or a clan, I guess, said, you're not following the laws of God anymore. We're going to take over. And there was a bit of a skirmish. But I think what happens is, when the people realize that God is not on someone's side anymore, they jump onto the person whose God's side is on. Like that. So there's not really much of a battle. Like, people know a king that's got God on his side. Yeah. A good-hearted king. Hey. Yes, mister. Mango is the most loving cat. Mister. He's a purr baby. And he sleeps at the foot of my bed every night. He's like my little protector. Him and Honey. Hey. Yeah. Oh, look at that. He's perfectly in the camera. I'll move my mic. There we go. Mister. Yeah, you see that in, I think, the older battles, where the leader, it was his confidence that rallied so much of the troops. Like I think that's where, like the the real rulers in those times, like the leaders of the armies, if it was the king or even like Napoleon, like the generals, like they had to have had the respect of the people, the army. But they, like, no one wants to fight a war if you don't have the respect for the leader. Yeah. And I mean, that's what's unfortunately happening in the US at the moment. Like the respect for the leader is nil. Like the patriotism of the US right now has been just blown apart. Like the Americans are like turning in on themselves. I saw that Florida is like possibly going to, Florida or Texas, we're going to become their own independence. It's like there's a whole gameplay about out to destroy the US. Yeah, it is a beautiful nation. It was a nation that was built on very good ideals, freedom under God. But just like any system, it gets corrupted by the fucking the malevolent, by the malevolent. And I think that's where we went wrong, was we lost our understanding of the malevolent and how it operates. And so it allowed the malevolent to get into the system, and then now it's corrupted. Yeah. So yeah, that's about society building, going back to that. It's like, well, how do you build this system that doesn't allow the malevolent to get in and destroy it? Because yeah, as soon as greed gets into a society, like that's the end of it. You know, like it's a slow death. There's a slow death, but like respect for the government. Like why is the government not respected? Like you need to have respect for the people who are making the decisions. Mm. Mm. Hey, mister. Mm. I can feel mango purring on my body. I saw a TikTok video. They're talking about how the like the health effects of having a purring cat on you. How the harmonics, it's like, and it wouldn't surprise me that cats, their vibration, and like they're emitting this like loving, kind, healing energy. It's their thank you for looking after them. Like I can see that, I can feel that actually, if I put my intention to it, to say thank you, mister. I did hear that cat meows have been like harmonized to a baby crying. So the cat has like developed this meow because it knows that like that's the sound that gets the attention from the human. That's their little trigger. Meow. Sounds like a baby crying. Yeah, pretty special animals. Yeah, they're amazing animals. I'd love to know more about the bigger cats, especially the panther. The panther looks like a really interesting animal, and so just powerful. Yeah, it's like super powerful. Like really long body and just muscles everywhere. I saw there's one video on YouTube where the panther actually hunts a caiman crocodile, and that is really amazing how he crawls along the bank and then swims across the river and then pounces on this crocodile. Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. But yeah, they're such magnificent hunters. I know they get a bad rap in Australia, so we have to find a solution for that. But yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I'll leave that one out there. Some of those ones are difficult. Cats in Australia, because I think everyone's right. Yeah, everyone's right. Like, and it's like, well, where? Because you have to allow freedom. This is like society building. You have to have freedom, so then who starts making these rules that say, well, what are native animals? And then restrictions happen, and then people break the rules, and you need police, and you need courts, and you got to have everything because someone said you couldn't have a cat because of the nature around. And I think this, like in Australia, like small government has got to that point where like you can't have your dog in the national park, you can't take your dog on the beach, only designated beaches. Like there's all these like little rules or laws that have been put in place, but they restrict freedom. We have to have a population that is not going to push they're going to follow along with the freedom, right? What am I trying to say here? I have to think on this one for a second. Mister. Hey, mister. Silence is good. It's good to be in silence sometimes. I could probably do ASMR and put you all to sleep. I've got some scratchy things I can get. And then we can all close our eyes. Cat's helping too. Cat's helping. He wants to play ASMR too. Then we close our eyes and we breathe in through our nose, out through our nose. Big deep belly breaths. Just letting go of everything. No worries. Nothing. Just feeling the breath as it goes in and out. How deeper you're breathing now. How much more centered you are in your body. Okay, now it's time back for the Queens and Kings podcast. Cool, we just invented a new segment. The little meditation interlude, I like it. I do like it. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, we got to get more meditative in our worlds. It's one of the, I find it very important for my just processing my life. It's just sitting or running. Running's very good. I run every day, usually every day, and that's my time for just downloading and just getting new ideas, processing old ideas, and it just helps everything to move through a lot faster. Yeah, and when you do it out in nature, it's even more rewarding, because you've got the beauty around as well to just take you out of your head. You don't have to be processing all the time. That can be a trap, I guess, is when you're just always processing, always thinking of dreams. And it's good to also just slow your mind, everything down to zero thoughts. That's the intention, is to get to that place where there are no thoughts, no ideas, no dreams. Just a state of stillness, in a way. Because that's our centered place. And we need to come back to that, as much as possible, and it sort of helps pull us back. Yeah, it's like the center, coming back into the center. Osho used to say the center and the circumference, and you come back into the center, where when you go out into the world, you're on the circumference, and so you're living and playing there. Because you have to, but it doesn't be a have to. It can be a yes, cool, I get to play there on the circumference. But you have to come back to the center also. And you do that whenever you need to. But I think for me, I have like a routine where I go for my run in the afternoon. That's sort of my meditation and run. Do some weights, and that's my routine at the moment. And then I'm playing on the internet for the rest of the day, and I'm also doing some things around the property. But yeah. Hey, Mr. Mango. Some cats, it's just like all cats have got different purrs as well. Just like humans, they're all different energies. Maybe that's why the Egyptians worshipped the cats, because they were healers. And we know they're healers anyway. We've always known them as being healers, like they help, my mum, after my sister passed away, and she was very upset and struggling, and a black cat arrived on the back door. practical step to live with her for the rest of her life, right? So it was, yeah, this cat just knew. It's like this is a little sent from heaven to help. So they're little heaven's angels in cat form. I think that's the same about birds as well. Like they're all little angels from heaven. We're all on the same quest, which is to bring consciousness to the world, to bring light to the world. And yeah, I think they're doing the same thing. They want that too, and they're conscious enough. I had a very interesting conversation with a guy who had been doing DMT, and he was telling me that he was in the forest, like in the Australian bush, and he had a DMT pipe, and all the birds were in all these parrots were around him, squawking and that, and he took the DMT, and he went into this other world, reality, but the birds were in that reality with him. But he could still hear it. But he could hear them all carrying on in our reality, like they were all squawking and like. But they were in there with him. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's a lot more to birds than we believe. Who knows? But if they're able to be in the same another reality as where he went off to with DMT. So yeah, so now every time I look at birds, I'm always looking at them like, what are you up to? They're always looking. They're always everywhere, you know. It's like, you guys, you're all got. They seem wiser than we give them credit for, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I love it. And you know, like what we say is like, believe in the world that you want. And so I want that world. That's why I talk about it. It's like I want that world. I want the world where the animals are way more conscious than we realize. And then maybe we can talk to them. Hey, that would be cool. I think we can. Like there's lots of stories from the past where it'll be more telepathically being able to connect with an animal, and I think there's many stories from the past. Odin, God, who I believe was also a man. You know, there's a story that he was. I don't want to get off sidetracked. I think I already have. Odin was the story is that he brought the 12 tribes, or he brought the tribes from the Black Sea into Europe, and he was shown by the gods, because he was very magical. He had abilities. This is what got onto the birds. He had 2 crows that would tell him what was happening in the world. You know, it's like, did he have the ability to be able to communicate with the crows? And I believe he did, because yeah, why not? And that's the world I want to believe in. It's like you do have those magical powers do exist. Whether you call them magical, it's just connecting into the consciousness, one consciousness. Of course, you can connect in to another animal. Yeah, but shape shifting, being able to turn into an actual animal. I wonder. I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure there's somebody. There was always that movie, that TV series, True Bloods. Loved it. I'd love to watch it again. But yeah, they had shapeshifters. But yeah, all off table. There we go. Yeah, we live in a very amazing world. So amazing, and there's so many facets to this world, and like I always found it difficult to get my head around that there's so many people on this planet, and they're all doing their own thing. They're all just like living a life right now. But that's just so mind-blowing. My mind explodes when I think about like what everyone is doing right at this moment. Yeah. It's like you see those stats, how many babies are being born, or how many orgasms are happening at this moment. Pop. Right? Can we tap into that? Tap into that energy, that good energy. But yeah, there's drama. There's so many stories, so much drama going on. Tears, fights, anger. God, you just imagine the shit going down right at this moment. Yeah. But I believe, like, overall, if you like sum it all up, the world is way more light and bright and full of beauty than we think. Like, this has always been my feeling. I could never understand. It's like everyone I meet is really like they're all kind. Everyone I meet, every person's kind. Everyone wants to do good. Yeah. So it's like, why are things not good? And I now, like, I know it's the design of the society and the rulers, the leaders. They set the example for the society. And that is why kings and queens just naturally arose. Yeah. A fairy king. Because why not? Why wouldn't you aim for that? Where we've reached maximum harmony for a society. Yeah, where the harmony is there. People walk in, like I saw it here at Mindful Earth, when there was certain times where there was so much harmony. Everyone was just right. The weather was beautiful, and everyone was just jiving and doing their thing and getting a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of love, and so that energy. Yeah, that energy all year round, every year, all the time. And of course you're not always going to be in high vibes, but there's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of family, purpose, respect, trust, freedom, all these things that we all crave. Friends, lovers, all these things, support, security. Yeah, all these things that's all we really want. And we want to celebrate, we want to have a good time. So you have the right people that want that as well. Yeah, it's what do you want in your society? That's what you need in your leaders. Bang. Society equals leaders. Societal design. Yeah. And there's, like, I think the Greeks got it right, or the Romans got it right for a while. I think they had a pretty cool society. They were like elevated. The Eleusinian mysteries, where they had like ceremonial like ayahuasca sessions with the whole population or the invited ones. Like, it was a mystery, it was kept secret. It was the secret of the Greek state, I think. You know, no one talked about it. Like, what the hell? What's that about? But yeah, they had celebration. They had spiritual togetherness. They had ceremonies to keep their people together and to keep building and being stronger and wiser and more creative. Like, that's the aim of the civilization, the society. And I think, I need to learn more about the Greeks and the Romans. But my gut feel is the Romans sort of went bad. They turned into a bad egg towards the end. But that's what happens. Bad eggs, things fail. It falls apart. You lose your people. If you lose your people, you haven't looked after the people. If you haven't healed the people and given them riches rather than taken away from them, that's the I love it. I love podcasting. Yes. Everything stems on the people, how they're respected and how they're educated, the morals that they're given, I guess, the freedoms that they're given, the effort to bring them higher. And Australia, I believe, we have got one of the strongest. We don't have much culture, but there is a moral sort of do the right thing in Australian culture. So that exists in Australia, which is great. Like, I know of in Turkey and Iran, they have where they just accept in every guest. Everyone's welcome. And because you never know if God is going to turn up on your doorstep. That's what they say. So it's like, okay, welcome. Yeah, and they come from a culture, like, it's like the past, the Persians. Zoroastrianism is a really interesting religion and really worth looking into. There's not a lot of information about it because it's been tried to be destroyed. That whole religion and the people have been persecuted because of their belief systems, I believe. But the Zoroaster was their prophet, and his main stay with the fire god. They were like fire worshippers, and so there's a flame that's never been unlit somewhere in Iran for like 2,500 years. The Parsi in India, I think they're called. But yeah, they're like a really interesting religion. But it was, hello Mango, come on, because it's more structured around building the society rather than just. So that's the thing. There's not a lot of text from the past that we know of how to build our societies, how to structure them. You have these law documents, but I don't see many books on how the courts should be designed, how many people, what is the structure of the structure of the decision making in a kingdom. How does that work? I've never seen that before. Like, what? All that information. How did the church work in with the? Like, they play an important role. The church is the role of providing for the people what they need in a spiritual perspective. So it's a very important role. You got to keep elevating your people. And yeah, everyone can have different beliefs. This is more consciousness, wisdom, and you can use every path has practices you can choose. If you're a Muslim, you can follow those beliefs, and then you've got the Sufism, which is a branch of being Muslim. So there's all the same paths leading to the same place. But yeah, it's your church is important in looking in a society, I believe. You missed out.